Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody again, and as always, I have my co-host with me, rodeo historian himself, Mr. Jimbo Snively. Hey, Jimbo, what's going on, and who do we have today?
Hey, Cody, boy, it's another great day in Osage, man. Cody, we've got one of the best cutting horse trainers in the United States right here in Osage County. He was 2005 NCHA Open Futurity Champion. That's the big one. Doesn't get any bigger than that. He's got over $2.2 million in earnings. He's an NCHA Hall of Famer. And of course, I'm talking about Tommy Marvin, Barnsdall, Oklahoma. But we also have his daughter, Kenley, with us today. And she's an up-and-comer. She was just inducted to the NCHA Youth Hall of Fame with over $100,000 worth of earnings already. So we're just tickled to death to have him here. Kenley and Tommy, welcome to the Cowboys of Osage podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having us.
They've been pretty busy, I think. They've been on the road a lot.
Yes, sir.
Hey, where all have you been here lately, Tommy?
Well, we've been mostly preparing for the NCHA Futurity comes up again here in about a month and a half. But we hit some small shows preparing and showing some young horses that they want seasoned. So we just come from Broken Bow.
How'd y'all get along down
Nebraska.
there? Up there. Broken Bow, Nebraska, not Oklahoma.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yeah. No, and what was the last town? It was in Nebraska also. We just came from Fort Smith, Arkansas. And we take some show horses and mostly 3-year-olds, and we bring our Fort Worth horses along with us to get them prepared. When you go to Fort Worth to the futurity, the horse cannot have been shown in a competition. So you prepare them by taking them along with you to competitions and working after the show or before the show. And so we've been hauling quite a bit doing that, and we'll go back to Weatherford leaving tomorrow, and we'll show a few older horses, and clients will show their older horses to kind of prepare for the futurity, because they show amateur futurity horses also, which are 3-year-olds, and they can't have been shown. So it's a busy time preparing for the big ones, what we've mostly been doing.
Well, we sure appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule, both of y'all, to come see us today. And we're just tickled to death to have you here. Tickled to death. Hey, let's go all the way back, Tommy.
Yes.
So, where were you raised? Where are you from originally?
I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we were just outside of Albuquerque on a little farm ranch type deal, and we rodeoed every weekend, and you know, my granddad, which was a horseman, rancher all his life, he got us started into rodeo, and me, my uncle, and my sisters all rodeoed there, and it just kind of started from there. And when my granddad sold the place in New Mexico, and we just kind of started moving this way, and we lived in Texas for a while. Just kind of moved around after Granddad sold the first place we started on.
Looking for a new place to call home.
Yes, my dad did construction, and you know, so his jobs just kind of moved us around.
Yes, sir. So, what made you make the move from rodeo and to start getting interested in this cutting horse business?
Well, I came to Oklahoma with some friends and rode race horses, you know, broke colts, and just kind of, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. It was exciting, but so when I moved back to Arkansas, where my family was doing construction, my granddad was working for Kenneth Gallion, a well-known cutting horse trainer that has had him and his son and grandsons have had a lot of success. But anyway, I went over there and worked for him cleaning stalls, took my granddad's place, and I seen it. I was almost 20 years old, and I was like, this is it. This is the real thing right here. You know, good opportunity. It was a joy working that type horses. You know, they had a purpose. You know, they could go on and do other things. But when you were riding them, they would cow, and, you know, the training part was exciting because the horses seemed to enjoy it.
Tommy, where does that natural cow ability come from? I mean, it's always fascinated me why one strain of horses or one breed, and they might be thoroughbred from England or something, you know, but his horses for some reason seem like that natural ability.
Right, and you know, everybody should come and watch a 2-year-old work the first time, and they have cow and they develop cow where some horses don't, but it's not like a bird dog or a
it's
cow
not that
dog.
Natural.
It
right.
is not. I
right.
mean, as far as cutting, the horse will naturally go to the cow pretty quick, but that stay back here and mirror the cow, it takes so much time to convince them. You know, it's like, let's stay back here and play defense because they want to do offense.
So, can you take a horse with actually no cow in them at all, no natural instinct, and if they're athletic enough, and teach them that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, and when we first started out, you know, we rode a lot of horses that had very little natural cow, but you just kind of showed them repetition and over, and they would learn just to react to the cow.
Sure,
now, the big time horses are naturally cow horses, and you teach them some things.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, some horses, they naturally hate a cow, it seems like. They pin their ears back and snip at their butt. I've had only a couple of them on roping horses that I felt like were very, very naturally cowy like that. But they are sure fun to ride when you do find one. I tell you that right now.
And they'll get in there, you know, right away and track a cow or you know, be interested in a cow. But to think about cutting, it's just keep the cow from coming this way. And if they have any go to the cow, you can't show them.
It don't work out. You're not going to win much.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're not going to win much. So you started off mentoring under a fella, I forgot his name.
Kenneth Gallion.
Kenneth Gallion.
Yes, sir.
Great cutting horse trainer, I suppose. I don't know every cutting horse trainer's name. I know a few of them.
Right.
Tommy Marvin being top of my list.
He was in Arkansas, and you know, very, very successful, and they did it, you know, had a long career. But his son, who was there when I was working, was Jody Gallion, and then he has 2 grandsons that are from Jody's sons that have been very, very successful. So it's always been a very interesting deal because Kenneth Gallion had Jody Gallion, Wesley Gallion, Bo Gallion, me, have all won the futurity, and there's not a long list of futurity champions.
So would you consider them your mentors to start off with, and the people that taught you most everything you know?
Yeah, those guys were younger than me.
You came up with a lot of them, came up together.
Yeah.
But the old man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was what got me started. Yeah. And you know, I had not even seen a cutting horse till I went to work for him.
Did you ever work for anybody else coming up, or did you primarily just stick with the Gallions out there?
Just worked for Kenneth, and then And then he had clients that had lots of horses. And so I went to work for one of them to start the horses, and then they went to trainers, and it just kind of progressed from there to where I never worked for any other trainers, which is unusual. Almost everybody you talk to is either the son of a trainer or went from this trainer to this trainer to this, went all over. So it was, I just started there and then went on my own.
What do you look for in a horse, Tommy, just to start off with?
Well, I have a lot of people ask that. And two of the greatest horses I ever had, one was a big old clunky looking thing, but she was so intense on the cow. She was amazing. And then the next one was 13.2, weighed 780 pounds. And
yeah. So there's no blueprint necessarily.
The thing that a cutting horse has to do, and you might as well, when you ride them when they're two, if they cannot naturally draw, they're not going to make it.
Explain that, draw. What do you mean?
When the horse turns, say somewhat with the cow, in the middle of the turn, it just kind of goes down on its back end and then goes across through the turn. Like a lot of the roan bred horses or race bred horses, when they turn around, they can't do that. There's just not enough flexibility in their back end for them to start right here and turn to right here. They can't go out any in the turn.
Right. So how soon do you check them out and test them for that when you start one?
Honestly, in 30 days, you can tell if they're physically, it's going to be easy for them or not.
Right. That's pretty cool.
So you're working out there in Arkansas. You finally split off. You're kind of the middleman. You're getting them started, then sending them off to get finished to somewhere else. Galleons, more than likely.
Right.
So what time frame are we looking at right here in your career of when you're kind of starting to split off on your own, but you're just doing some of the work right for them so they can go on with them in another place?
Right. I worked for the first cutting horse trainer for 5 years. When I went to work for one of his clients, the second year I was there, I was starting to compete on horses that they did not send out. They left them there for me.
Okay. So are you competing at the amateur at that point, or are you competing?
No,
because I'm trying to figure out the whole cutting industry right here in one sit down with him.
When I started, it was just open and non-professional. And in the open was just everybody.
Okay.
In the non-pro, you had to own the horse and, pay your own way. And they had a lot of rules to be a non-pro. You couldn't ride somebody else's horse. And so when I started, it was just like I showed against Buster Welch. So there was no middle.
Kind of like steer roping. There's nowhere.
Back then, especially, But
once you get out of the B roping, you got to rope against everybody.
And now they've progressed throughout the years, and they'll have a limited open and an intermediate open, but then it was just open and non-professional.
All right. So he got thrown to the wolves right off the bat. A lot of guys will tell you the better the competition, the better it makes you do things too.
Oh, yeah. And there is no doubt. I've watched trainers throughout the years. The very first place I showed was the NCHA Futurity, the biggest show of all. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I went out there and did pretty good, But if I'd known then what I know now, I'd probably had a nervous breakdown.
So how early in your career did you win the open division down in Fort Worth?
Well, let's see. In cutting, you go to the futurity, and at that time there would be 1,000 entries. So, and they take 25 horses to the finals. So if you are in that 25, you consider yourself a winner. So the third year that I showed a cutting horse, I made the futurity finals and ended up 6th or, in the top 10. So that was like, to me, that was just as good as winning the futurity at the third year of riding cutting horses. But so I guess what you're saying is I made the finals, semifinals lots of times, but when I had won it, it was 10 years into it, probably, somewhere in there.
How big did that change your business overnight to win the open division?
We already had all the business we wanted. Our big, so I had a lot of people say you're set now, but nothing really changed for us because we've always trained lots of horses for clients. And our deal has always been train horses for clients, and if one's good enough, go show in the open division. So, I know I'm everywhere I go, I'm like, if I say anything, it's like, they're like, no, you're a futurity champion. So I know it changed my career. The amount of horses we ride, it didn't really change.
You were already one of the elites without having the title itself.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was already top 10 guy.
Tommy, what's it like showing up for a futurity? I mean, do you show up like a rodeo? Do you come in the day before, the same day you go, or how does that work?
It's you come in.
A lot of times we drive all night and we
right.
Horses about.
I mean, they do a little better than that, probably.
Yeah,
hopefully.
that's what I'm thinking.
It's rodeo is very similar to the weekend competition. Like in cutting, they have world champions. Like when she won the youth, it was every weekend. We were driving all night. We were with these futurity horses. They sell for $500,000. One sold for $1 million this year. So it's a whole different ball game on these futurity horses of preparing, and you get there a day or two early, and you get to the practice pen. You spend weeks figuring out how many minutes to ride it before you show it. And
now, do you actually work cattle in practice when you get there? Okay.
Yeah, they'll have a practice pen there, and just to get a little fine tune before you go in.
How many judges do they have at one of these?
It's a 5-judge system throughout the high and the low.
Okay, so basically you get 3 scores or from 3 judges.
Yeah, and it's from 60 to 80 is the scale.
Yeah.
How do they judge them, Tommy? Just for the if you're going to explain how a cutting horse competition is ran to somebody that's never watched one before that they're fixing to,
right.
Could you do that? Because there's a lot of people that we know what the sport is, we know what the sport's about, but besides that, we know nothing about the sport.
Right. I judge a lot of events. I've judged my whole career, and you. Like, say, the futurity or one of those aged events, you have 2 go-arounds, a semifinals and a finals. They add the 2 scores together in the go-around. So you go watch 600 or 700 horses. You're judging on like the way they get the cow out there, whether it's smooth. You're judging how they control the cow. They want the horse to hold the cow in the middle of the pen under control. And then the degree of difficulty, like some cows might just stand there no matter what the horse did. So you consider that. There's the time worked. You got 2.5 minutes. Normally cut 2 or 3 cows. The penalties are beyond that. The style of the horse, it's amazing now how stiff the competition is. So the style of the horse means a lot in the score. If it's stopping straight and pretty, and using its whole body in the turns with ears up and lots of expression, and then that's eye appeal. It goes up. And nowadays, if you're out of position, you might as well ride out. Or if you lose a cow, you're done. If you pick your hand up any time in there after you get that cow by itself, those are all penalties. The cow has to be stopped or going away from you whenever you decide to get another one. So that means you have control of it. So it's a 3-point penalty if you mess that up. But any penalty or anything in the top level is you're done.
What did you mean by picking your hand up? Explain that.
When the cows, the herd clears the butt of the horse, the hand has to be down on the horse's neck, and it stays down until you're done with that cow, and then you can pick up. Anytime in between
So you can't help the horse rein. I see what the object is. Okay. And everybody holds on the saddle horn now.
Yeah.
Right? Is that... I know I've seen old films when they didn't. Is it just the horses are so good now that you just need to help the horse by keeping your balance, or what's the thought process?
Yeah, and when you watch the old films, the horses are kind of going sideways with the cow. And nowadays they go here, and then when they turn around, it's halfway across the pen. They're hard to ride.
Right.
It's smooth, but it would be hard to like you said, not throw them off balance
right.
without a little help from that saddle horn.
I see. I've always wondered what's your thought process when you're picking out a cow.
We do sit up there and watch the cows. We want to make sure we don't cut a cow that's already been worked, so we have a list of every cow in there. You're looking for just kind of like you would imagine. You're looking for a cow that's interested, but not high-headed, just not dopey, but not crazy. So just kind of in between.
Heifer or steer, or you have a preference?
They use steers 99%, 99% of the time. When you go to the West Coast, they use Mexican steers, but that's about the only time you see them.
If they got their tail straight up in the air, you might want to leave that one in the herd.
And then, if you need a high score, you might say, I'm going to just see if I can handle that one there, but it usually doesn't go good.
So you don't try to pick the toughest one.
No.
But you don't want a dead one either.
Right.
I mean, you want something.
Right. And it's kind of strategy. You're in the futurity and you got a 225 the first round.
Right.
You might want to go
so you know what you need, really. Right. Yeah, that makes
survive.
Yeah. Stay in the average.
Safety up, we call that.
Holy moly. So how many horses do y'all typically take to an event with you? Because I know the cutting horse people, they got considerably longer horse trailers than what we're using, Jimbo.
We're taking 9 tomorrow, and that's including a few futurity horses that won't be shown, but they'll be.
Wait, what would you call it? Trying to get them seasoned a little bit? So that's wild. I did not know that you couldn't use your futurity horses anywhere until you get to the futurity.
And they watch it. I mean, there's you got to be really careful because they'll disqualify you if you do anything that's out of their rules.
Who does all the driving in your rig?
I do most of it. But nowadays we take 2 or 3 rigs so they drive too also.
Yep. Do y'all stay there at the grounds or do you get a hotel? What do y'all do in the cutting?
Both. We have a little living quarters that I usually stay in at Fort Worth because I'll be in there helping, and then there's downtime, but then you might have to go right back. So I stay in the living quarters, and the help usually gets a room.
So how much has the sport of cutting horse cutting changed since you've started? Is it still the same way that they've done it Buster Welch was doing it, could that compete with the cutting guys today?
No, not really. But
what's different about from his day and age compared to now?
The biggest thing that I see is because it was that way when I started. It was Buster, and those guys were still showing. It was the cattle that changed more than anything else. When you used to go to the futurity, there was all little black baldies, Herefords, and now you show up, they're quarter Bramer. It's a whole different speed. When I first started showing and those guys were showing, you just walked out there and cut a cow and your horse played with it. And it was pretty, But nowadays, it's the eliminator pin now. So you got to have a lot of strategy. You got to have a real physical horse. When Buster and Bill Freeman, they were competitive right at the start. They were right at the finish of their career, but the cutting changed after that. The horses have gotten so much more physical. The older generation gets mad when the younger generation says they couldn't have competed. It's just different. Those guys were fantastic, great hands, but they were in a separate kind of deal than we are now.
Normally, it's just the opposite. Normally, the cattle was ranker and bigger and nastier.
Yeah, right. In
every other event back in the old days.
Right.
Instead of kind of getting a user-friendly set together. Well, now they get the user-friendly set together in the world of rodeo, but they test the cutting horse people way harder. They just get a bunch of good renegade cows, it sounds like.
Right.
Well, the breeding of cattle has just changed.
Yeah.
Everybody used to have Hereford bull and black cows, and now...
Well, just the energy and the feed they can feed these cows is a lot different compared to back then, too. I would assume there's a lot more science into just the feed part of it.
And when I first started, there was a handful of trainers that did it like, this is what I do. And now they're all like athletes, and they work out and they work. It's gotten way more competitive in the training than it did at the start. It was just kind of like a side thing for most people. Now it's like their main thing.
Serious
Does that make
business.
sense? Yeah.
That's mostly just because of the money, I suppose. Right.
Yeah.
Where does all that money come from, Tony?
At Fort Worth, like at Fort Worth, there will be now it's down some, but 600 or 700 horses, and the entry fee is $2,500, $2,700. The city puts in money for horse events, and
because I read somewhere they paid out like last year like $39 million or something, over the NCHA, all their events, or something. Right. And that just seemed like a lot of money, and I'm just curious.
It's pretty high entry fees, but they get a lot of money from the city, and because they bring in a lot of people, and
they do draw pretty good crowds, don't they?
At Fort Worth is the only place you really see a good crowd of spectators, but when we go to Fort Worth, there'll be 600-700 open horses, 400 or 500 amateur horses, and these are 4 or 5 people each.
Yeah.
So the city does well.
Right, I bet.
So, Tommy, when you're hauling someone else's horse and you win the futurity, how do you get? How is it? What's the customary split on the money? Does the trainer keep all the money? Do you give 25% of the money to the owner? I don't know, because if you ride someone else's horse at a rodeo, you give them 25%. It's called mount money.
Right.
But I don't know what it's like if you're the guy training him and hauling him and doing everything for the owners. So, How would something like that work? Just typically across the board, is there something that's customary for everybody?
Pretty much. What I do is on the big limited aged events where the entry fee is $2,000 or more. What I do is on the winnings they take out the entry fee and we split the rest.
It's like entering somebody for half. Mm-hmm. If you enter somebody for half at a rodeo, you take out the entry fee and then you split the money. Sometimes the rider gets 60% since he's the rider, and the owner gets 40%, and sometimes it is a 50 split on that entering for half. So,
and it's just kind of what most when I checked around, you try to stay in line with everybody. Most of them it's just split. Every dime the horse wins, but I found a lot of times you'll go off to Abilene or somewhere and make the finals, have a little bad luck in the finals. The entry fee's $2,000 and you win $3,000, and you're like, you want him to have his entry fee back so he'll enter the next one.
Yes. Well, a guy, you're probably getting paid by the month to ride the horse too, or by the however you charge. Some guys charge by the ride. They say it takes 45 days to make a month sometimes. Some guys charge by the month. Some guys charge by the day, I suppose.
Yeah, it's pretty much in this area $1,000 a month, and just a flat charge.
Wow, that seems totally doable. I need to start sending you a bunch over there. I'm just
right. If you go to
$1,000 a month, you got to buy a $500,000 horse to send to him for $1,000. That's the problem, Jimbo.
Right. But that's what we have been really fortunate in finding reasonable horses and working with it. I haven't had any customers that's ever gone out and bought $200,000-$400,000 horses. We just sell them for that.
Yes, sir. So what do you think about the horse market now? So I know from kid ponies to race horses, they're at an all-time high. No one's ever seen a situation what's going on in the horse market everywhere else. How's the cutting horse market looking?
It's the same. You can't. I've never seen anything like it. When people ask me, I'm like, it's triple.
What brought you to Barnsdall, Oklahoma, Tommy?
We were on the other side of Tulsa on 40 acres on a nice place, but I struggled so hard getting cattle because you train 30 or 40 horses. It takes a lot of cattle to have them horses interested in it. Once the cow gets numb and sour, it's hard to have your little futurity horse excited about what he's doing. So I had some people in this area that I was getting cattle from. So we just started looking and sold that 40 acres for a down payment in cattle country.
What's your favorite part about living up here in the Osage? Is it the good cattle or the good folks or the good country? What do you like the most about living up here, Tommy?
I like the cowboy way, and this is about as close to cowboy stuff as you can get in this anywhere around here. I like to take my colts and drag calves and things that you just can't do if you've got 40 acres and work them in the arena all the time.
So that's one thing I was going to hit on here and ask you. A lot of the best horses I've ever had, we did a lot of day work on them.
Right.
Before we ever took them to the arena, while they were in the arena, no matter what, it seems like we were always putting a lot of miles, even on our good horses. So I was wondering what it was like. Do you put a lot of miles when you're starting one to get them good and broke? Do you use your good horses anywhere else once you get them going just to keep their mind good? What do y'all do with those cutting horses that are?
We do all.
You wouldn't think you would do.
Right. And I mean, you've got a $200,000 2-year-old out there. You got to use a little common sense, but they're going to drag calves and they're going to go where it's not just extreme. And that's we don't get to do is when we go to futurity. them horses have been worked every day because it takes that long to get them ready for that. So we're like a cowboy horse or rope horse, it'll be, I'll give them 30 days off, or I'll go do this for a month. We do that and work them on a cow because they can't hardly miss any, and be ready to go down there, put your hand down, and that horse take over and do the whole thing at 3 years old.
Do you find out the more tired a horse is, the better he does? The less the less they can think about doing other things that'll cost you points and money?
That's the hardest thing for people to understand is, it's just, if that horse is just down as it can be, it'll be amazing. But if it's got just a little bit of, I want to do this on my own, it's going to make mistakes.
One time, Jimbo, my dad, we were on our way to the rodeo in Guyman, and he had me drop him off about 5 miles outside of town. And I was a little kid, barely could see over the steering wheel, driving on into the rodeo grounds there. And I asked him, I said, "What the heck are you doing, Dad?" He said, "Oh, I ain't been riding this horse enough. He's got to be good and tired before we get to the rodeo today."
Yeah, it's not hard for us to understand because we grew up in a steer tripping family, and you always wanted them tired.
Yeah.
Calf horse is a little different. You kind of want them wide awake, but steer horse, you want them tired.
Yeah, you don't want them. I guess you don't want a cutting horse on the muscle real bad going into the arena.
No. And if he's thinking about stopping, you can ask him to go another step. But if he's thinking about going, you might not stop where you want to stop.
So you got a lot of clients' horses over there. How many horses do you typically have on hand, outside horses, at any given time, Tommy?
Yeah, it slowed way down, but it's picked up since the horse market picked up. It just seems like everybody got interested, enthused again. We have 40 stalls, and we have several of our own horses. We probably keep, I'm going to say 40, 45 outside horses. And that's from 2-year-olds that were just now, they're yearlings, we're just now fixing to start, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds. Our show horses, we seem to sell them when they get to be about 5. There's just high demand for them.
Do you ever get these horses back to ever tune them up for the folks after you've sold them?
Yeah.
Just something that, a lot of people probably don't know how to do if they get them into a habit of some kind. Do you get those horses back to fix, or?
Yeah, most of the ones that we sell, they go off to a weekend program, and they'll have a weekend trainer that helps them.
I got you.
So the young horses, everything we have mostly just stays there through their 5-year-old career.
I got you.
And they may take them home while we're at the futurity and pasture ride them or something like that. But we have very few horses that come back. It's just like almost two separate things. The weekend deal and the limited age deal. And so most all of them, they may buy them, take them home, but they have a different trainer that helps them with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Totally makes sense. They have their own mentor that they're learning from and helping them along. And
that's what, there's a lot of trainers, that's all they do is weekend stuff. And they haul all over the country, and they'll have, 10, 15 head of 7-year-old horses and up. And they'll have a whole bunch of clients go with them. And since we don't do that, we don't see many of those.
What about clinics? Do you put on any clinics, Tommy?
Well, I get asked a lot. I haven't. I used to do some what do you call them? With Shannon and them?
Oh, Christian, like at the Christian
camp.
Okay.
Camps, cutting camps. And there'd be 5 or 6 trainers there and 20 or 30 people. I haven't done any to speak of clinics on my own, but I've helped with them.
Except for when you went to France.
Yeah, I did go to France and that was really fun.
Well, Tommy, it's always a great honor to win a world championship, I'm sure, but I'm assuming it's nothing compared to watch your child win a world championship compared to that.
Oh yeah, my son shows also, and it is like, I mean, it just rips your heart out whenever they do, something happens, and your heart almost busts whenever it goes good. You know, it's just like way more thrilling than my own, what I get done on my own.
You probably get more nervous too than.
Oh man, I almost can't take it.
Right.
You know, it's when you're doing the weekend deal, you know, for fun, it's fun. But when you're at a major event and it's all splitting hair deals, you're so uptight. It's just like, you know, there's a lot on the line, and just, you know, you shouldn't be that way. It should all be for fun, but it's just hard.
Well, when that kind of money's at stake, though, can your horse feel that? I mean, when you get a little nervous and...
Oh, yeah. Helping, I get nervous. Showing, or they don't get nervous.
Right.
Them kids have been doing it since they were this big.
Yeah.
They just do it.
Yeah.
Tommy, rodeo guys and a lot of other cowboys I know are very superstitious. What about cutting horse folks? You know, I don't put my hat on my bed, you know, and I think when I backed in the box, I always spit to the left. If I spit to the right, some stuff went down. So what about cutting horse people? Do they have any superstitions, or do you have any superstitions that might seem crazy to somebody else, but that's just part of the cutting horse business, is to have this particular superstition. So
we grew up rodeoing, and it was all, don't lay your hat on the bed, don't wear a yellow shirt, you know, all those things. But I don't see it much in the cutting deal.
They don't have them.
Just kind of faded away.
Well, I don't know what it's like, but probably most of the cutting people got enough gas in their tank to get home if they don't win anything. I know a big majority of the rodeo people where, I've had to write a hot check to the secretary. Hey, can you cash us a $35 check so I can get home, please?
Oh, yeah. That's kind of how we started too, but we've been very blessed in this industry with great clients and you know, bringing us the best horses they could afford.
Geldings. Do they ride very many geldings in the cutting world, or is it just a waste of time for you to even mess with a gelding to take to the futurity or something?
Two of the biggest selling horses I've sold and won money on were geldings. You know, they won't. Well,
does that just make that breeding program that much better? I'm just trying to figure out.
Like you say,
it's like a racehorse. Why would they race a gelding? You know, unless it's just for the stake alone.
But what it's like, you've got these very wealthy people that they don't care. They're not going to raise a colt. They just want to look good at the next show. And
they want a champion.
Gelding looks good, better than them mares, and they're easier. I mean, it's just like rodeo horses. The studs, you've got to really work around things, and the great ones are exceptionally great, but the middle ones are really hard. And in the mares, you know, I don't notice it too much, but they're a little more finicky and trying to figure out how to get them ready. And the geldings are just, they are what they are. And people, if you've got $200,000 and you want to go haul for the year, and you know that gelding's going to be easy to get ready, stay sound, they buy the gelding.
What about a breeding operation? What kind of, do you have one, or?
Yeah, we have a really nice stud he was one of our favorite horses. The whole family showed him, and so we raised colts out of him, and we're starting to show his babies. They're real successful. Its breeding program is not it's hard. You know, the horse is 14 years old now, and we're just now starting to show some of his colts, you know. Because the time he went through his show career, we didn't want to breed him then. And then the first 2 or 3 years, we didn't want to use our high dollar winning mares to breed to a stud. We didn't know what he was going to produce. So you're well into it.
Well, we're wishing you good luck on the crop coming up right now. I bet they're good ones if he decided to keep this one and breed with him, though, Jimbo, don't you?
We may have to buy one.
They are good, and they're, just
Versatile.
good sound horses. The stud, I rope on him. She does the ranch horse competitions on him, and he won $150,000 with limited showing and cutting. She won the Eastern Nationals. Susan was reserve world champion on him. I won major event on him.
We ought to get a Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum discount, I would think, on a good coat.
I'll guarantee you.
Yeah, and we'll send him on down the road with him.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to ride. I couldn't ride him.
It'd be nice.
They are good, and he's really well bred. His mother's produced right at $1 million. So, and he's a gorgeous horse.
Do you breed any outside horses, or are you just doing your own herd right now with them?
We breed some outside. So
if you got a good mare out there that Tommy might think's worthy for his stud, get a hold of him.
yeah,
He's in the business.
he's good.
And if you're wanting to buy some cutting horses, also get a hold of Tommy. He's in the business.
Yep.
If you have cutting horses, get a hold of Tommy. He's in that business too.
Right.
All the cutting horse businesses.
Right.
So I've been wondering this whole time, 40-something head, 50 head at your house. Who cleans all those stalls, Tommy?
Well, we have a barn with runs. We have one stall barn. It's 22 stalls.
Yeah, the big
22
barn.
stalls. And we don't keep it full all the time. Like, we keep our 2-year-olds turned out together. Our 3-year-olds are just now put up in the barn. And by then, you start with 20. We have 11 now.
Yeah. Yes.
So by the time you get to the barn, it don't stay full. But that's a good question right there, because we're always looking.
Is it him? Does he do any of them?
No.
Well, no, he's done past all that.
It's
Right.
not good. We try to keep help, but gosh, it's really hard to keep help. And so a lot of times it's us.
Yeah.
Well, that'll happen.
Yeah.
That'll happen. Do you take in a lot of guys do a lot of guys come in and try to move in with you guys to learn
It's,
how you guys do things, or
I don't understand why it's hard to get anybody. I've had 3 different people that come to work for me out of what's it been 30 years that have wanted to learn, and they're very successful trainers now. The rest of them have been 6 months, whatever, and then I don't know how you could ask for a better job.
This is a lifestyle. This is not a job. You don't do this job and then have your life. This has to be your life. And so people think they want to do it until they realize how hard it is. And then they're out.
yeah, you got to live it.
Yeah.
If you work for yourself, anything you're doing, you have to live it.
Anything.
Just a lot of people, they're just not cut out for it. Once they get to doing it, they
It's
figure
like,
it out.
I'm going to be gone this weekend, and I'm like, no, the show is this weekend.
Exactly. There is no missing the show now. What are you talking about?
So anyway, I was really shocked, especially when I moved to this area. I thought, man, there's cowboys everywhere, and this would be a cowboy's dream job. But it's just it's a little tight, for sure enough with the cowboy mentality. You spend 8 hours in that pen, and then you go do what they like to do.
So when you're starting a horse, do you use is there, what's it called, the flag? Is it an electronic thing? Do you all use the flags, or do you?
Yeah, it's a training device that helps. For like us, we would work cattle all the time, but when it's raining or the weather's bad, you can work a lot of horses on the flag and still accomplish a lot by being inside working the flag. Where if you're in that little arena trying to work cows, everybody's in the way, and so it's a device to keep the operation going while you can't be outside working.
Do you got any sponsors like on your equipment or feed or anything like that, being one of the top trainers in the world? Or?
No, I haven't really been a go-getter on that. Purina sponsored me for a while, but it just kind of faded away, and
MVP.
I've had some different ones,
Supplements.
but I just haven't.
You don't go out chasing that. You just go down the highway to another cutting. That's what it sounds like.
And the next guy, he'll be over there like, yeah, what about me? And next thing I know, I don't have the sponsorship anymore.
I tell y'all what, if anyone's looking to do a little sponsoring in the cutting horse industry, get a hold of Tommy Marvin right here and his family. I don't think there'd be a better cutting clan to sponsor right there. They're all some of the best in the nation, each and every one of them. So get a hold of Tommy over there in Barnsdall. They don't need them, but everyone can use a good sponsor.
That's right. That's appreciated all.
Get a hold of them over there and get to sponsoring these guys. I think one of the greatest in the world would have a shirt full of those things. So what about buffalo, bison? Have you ever used them to cut on? I knew that was a big deal there for a while, or do you keep them around? Or?
Right. I just get so many cattle. I used buffalo for a couple of years when we had a really hot summer. They're good. When it's hot, they'll still work. It takes a lot of effort to keep the buffalo, and you almost have to train them for them to be any good. So it's when you got 300 or 400 head of cattle, it's hard to use the flag or the buffalo or anything, but I can see where they could be. They helped me out a couple summers because it was just too hot to work cattle.
Does it get too cold for you, or you work about every day?
They say I don't have any feeling.
Yeah, well.
Does not. Hot ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do it. You have to do it.
Well, that's why I tell them, I know them guys that I'm competing against, they might have a big covered
Heated arena.
but
Yeah.
I still got to compete with them.
And some of them down in South Texas, too, it's not as cold, so they're doing it.
My dad, he used to build a fire in the heading box so we could keep practicing, If you got too cold, you went and warmed up by the fire there for a second.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
do you guys do a lot of round pin work on them horses, I guess, or do you have one of those solid round pins?
No.
That's solid posts, cedar post or whatever?
No, the thing about it, the horses we deal with are so well bred. We start them when they're barely two. You just pretty much saddle them, drive them around a little bit, and then ride them. You don't need a bronc pin.
So you're a member of the National Cutting Horse Hall of Fame. Your daughter just got inducted into one.
Right.
The junior, is it the junior?
Youth.
Cutting Horse Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Where is that located at? Is it the same place that the big one's at?
Yeah, in Fort Worth. Yeah.
So what else have you won to her?
You might turn that a little closer.
Yeah, turn that mic right over to you. Let's talk to her for just a minute.
Right.
So I started when I was 5.
Okay.
And then I was the youngest person to ever show in the non-pro futurity at 10.
Okay.
So I was competing in the youth and in the non-pro. And so the youth started for me really in 2012 because my non-pro horse got hurt. And we had this really nice client that owned a mare named MK Vivian. And he started letting me show her in the youth. And so I showed her all year long in 2012. And we did this come from behind victory. She was just such a great horse. And we won the Junior Youth World Championship that year. And then we fast forward to 2016, and that man, he had decided that he was going to be done, and he gifted Vivian to me. So in 2016, I'm a senior youth, and she's my horse. And so I leg her back up, and she did it again for me. So then in 2018, I'm out of the youth, and I'm an adult now, and So I've got my own horse that I got when she was a baby, a paint horse. So Oklahoma girl, paint horse in Fort Worth. It was not supposed to work, but in 2018, Cinderella Cat made it happen for me again in the Triple Crown.
Wow. How many other people's done that?
On a paint horse? Not very many.
Pretty short list.
You're the only paint horse there.
Yeah,
In all these shows.
What about an Appaloosa? Y'all ever had an Appaloosa that can cut yet?
That's next.
That's actually...
Or an Arabian?
So because of Cinderella Cat, all these people have decided that they want a paint horse. So when I would lead her in, like at the pre-works and stuff, as getting ready for the futurity, they would laugh at me. They were like, no way. And then sure enough, she was so special. And so now everybody wants one. And so I was telling Dad, I was like, I've actually seen an Appaloosa cutter before, not seen a buckskin. So that's what we're going for next.
That'd be pretty sharp.
Oh, yeah. Everybody would want that booger.
You said you started at 5. Did you always know you wanted to be a cutting horse rider?
I've loved horses.
Just loved horses.
It's just the horses, yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel any extra pressure being Tommy Marvin's daughter?
Still do.
You still do? I know.
Still
I
do.
know. I understand.
Yeah, because when I go to a show, I don't just represent myself, I represent him. And I don't ever want to embarrass him.
Right. Don't want to fall off.
Don't want to fall off. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Well, you just want to be just like him.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
He's your hero, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. He's the only trainer that I know of that didn't have somebody to back him from the beginning. He started cleaning stalls and worked his way up from nothing, and that's unheard of. Every trainer in the business had a dad or an uncle or a grandpa or somebody that gave them a leg up, and my dad had to give himself a leg up.
That's why he's so successful.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Self-made people are going to be more successful because they got the determination, they got the grit. But you also have, that's all you know.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's also a great way to be brought up too, for sure. I mean, if that's all you know and that's all you do, you're going to get darn good at it. Just like it looks like the direction you're headed, you're going to be right there with your dad. You might even surpass him. Because did you win all these junior titles at all, Tommy? You couldn't. You were 20 years old, right? So it sounds like she's got a great, great career ahead of her, and the rest of your family sounds like the exact same thing. How proud of you that this has turned into a family business, Tommy.
Well, I just think that you just couldn't do it without a family. I mean, unless you're a family, it takes every little extra thing to make it work to win an open title. You know, if that horse is not fit and ready and sound, and you just, unless someone has a personal touch in it, it's not just all the trainer or showing the horse. It's all the things that goes along with it and getting it ready to go there. And if you have a family helping you with that, then it's a lot more possible.
So when you get ready at a major aged event, you have a loper. So like he's in the cow box watching the cows. And for the last several years, it's been me. You're getting that open horse ready. So you, as the loper, being family, it just means so much more. So you're just going to try that much harder because that horse has to be perfect and it's judged too. So it has to be, shiny, and the boots have to be white, and the horse has to be ready right at the right moment, and you have to be there with a pep talk. It's a whole thing.
I was on my way home from Reno. Susan, my wife, the kids were both small, and it was just, she said it's just too hard to take the kids along. I'm driving home with this about my third or fourth trip without no family and just someone in there with me. And I called her and I said, if we can't figure out how to do this together, I can't do it.
That's the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot easier to talk family into helping you at 9:30 at night,
Right.
5 o'clock in the morning,
In his case, 3 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning, burning daylight.
Right.
You're burning daylight over there. Well, Tommy, Jimbo, do you got anything else for Tommy?
Well, just like to thank them for coming in. I know they're busy, and we really appreciate them coming in. And I'd encourage everybody to come by the museum and see Tommy's case. Great display, but you may have to build another one.
It's looking like it. It's looking like we're going to have to build a whole family case, isn't it, Jimbo?
I know.
We're sure proud that they're from right here in Osage County now, and they call it home, and couldn't ask for some better folks to represent us all over the nation right here than the Marvins.
I know, absolutely.
So you guys are headed back to the futurity here, what you say, in a month and a half or so?
Yeah.
Isn't it about the same time as the NFR
Yes.
goes on?
Yes.
Boy, it's going to be something else when here in a few years they're having the NFR in Dallas during the futurity every year in Fort Worth.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be something else.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big time to be had down there.
What they had something there during all the stuff was at the
Yeah.
American.
No.
What they have at
It's normally in Vegas. And
Yeah, they had the NFR there last year.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
what was going on.
they had all that stuff at Will Rogers too.
Yeah, it's a great.
All those people come through there.
Yes.
And
Yes.
all our people went over there and watched. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be huge when all that's one big thing right there eventually one of these days. I don't know if it's going to happen. Just wishful thinking. I'd like to get up one morning, go watch a perf at the NFR, wouldn't you, Jimbo?
Yeah.
Then be back home the next day?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen either, but that'd be great for this area for sure.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, if you were to tell somebody, hey, I'm thinking about getting in the cutting horse business, what would you tell someone just starting out from nothing?
There's so many different angles of what the person wants to do. We have clients that want to go to Stillwater and show once every 2 months, and they just need an old horse that's they can keep at home. What we do is, like, our biggest thing has been a client to get 2 or 3 2-year-olds. We'll start them, go through them, and sell 1 or 2, and either they or I show the other one. And so what I always tell them is, if you guys, I've had many 2-year-olds for sell for 100 plus, or that little mare I won the futurity on, she cost $14,000. He could have got $1 million for her right there at the futurity. So what I like to suggest is someone that wants to watch, be around it, let me find a really nice 2-year-old or even 2, and thinking we can sell one to help pay for the other one, and either they or I show it, depending on its ability.
You ever had any real famous people's horses?
Not really. We've had just down to earth, working class clients always.
Just good folks that you don't mind being in business with.
Right. We've had 2 or 3 people that were fairly wealthy that had several horses in training, but they just were business people that had done well. But
God forbid someone don't pay their training bill and shoeing bill and worming bill and feeding bill and everything that it takes to take care of one of those things for a long amount of time. What happens?
We've only had a couple situations like that, and like this one, the gentleman had gotten bad health, and we just ended up talking to his wife, and she sent us the papers for the bill. So
You just find a way to work it out.
yeah.
Whether it's good or bad or indifferent, you just
Right.
got to find a way to work it
Right.
out and
Yeah.
move on. So I didn't know if there was something that was commonly done or something I didn't know.
I've heard of a lot of people. When I first started, I had a guy that, I don't know if things went bad or something other, and I had to sell like 6-7 head of horses and I just took my part out and sent him the rest.
Well, that seems like the way to do it. That seems like the way to do it. Well, guys, good luck.
There's one more thing.
Oh, here we go.
I'd like to say
Yes.
is we didn't get to have our cutting this year, but we have new manager or whatever, and so we've got dates for the next cutting.
When's it going to be, Tommy?
It was we had the same dates every year, September.
It's like 13th, 14th, somewhere along in
Are
there.
y'all holding it somewhere else this year? Did I see they had one in was that Fort Smith?
We went to Fort Smith. but
Okay.
We lost, several people that were planning on coming here. And I think if we can, that set us back a little bit, but I think if we can keep going, we'll have more and more people cutting in this area. And we would like to start maybe at our house, have anybody that's got a horse come over and just have some play days at our house. Some cowboys that have a horse that'll cow a little bit and try to get it going again in this area. It used to be big in this area.
So does Marvin, was it Marvin Performance Horses, Marvin Cutting Horses? What's it called here? How do they find you guys, and how can they find the schedule where y'all are going to be and schedule of your new endeavors that you're going to be starting?
You can find us on Facebook at Marvin Performance Horses. As far as the show, it's the Tall Grass Futurity.
Oh,
And
yeah.
It has its own, it's the Pioneer Cutting Horse Association. It's got its own page. But if you have any questions, you can contact the phone number on Marvin Performance Horses and get in contact with us.
All right. Marvin Performance Horses, right on Facebook. Get a hold of them for all your cutting horse needs. They got the play days coming up real soon. Get a hold of them for some dates that they're going to be having those. They just got done with the Tall Grass Futurity. They had it in Fort Smith, Arkansas this year, but it'll be right back here in Osage County next year. And I tell you what, they do a well of a job with that. It's a first class, really, really, I guess it's probably one of the most well put on and most well organized events I've seen in Osage County from start to finish, because I went out to it. The one you had, was it last year? Did you have one last year, Tommy?
Yeah. We had one there for 5 years.
Oh, has it been that long?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know you've been having one for 5 years straight there. I thought you just moved it into town a couple years ago.
Yeah, it was very small the first 2 or 3 years, just kind of and then when we got people coming, then we started adding more money and it was just fixing to bloom.
You got it. That's awesome.
And
We're glad to have the event here for sure, right
To
here.
bring them over to this amazing museum.
Yeah,
Show
yeah.
off.
Send everyone over here.
It's cowboy stuff around here. Now, most all cutters have a little cowboy in them.
Or want to.
Yeah.
Well, they wear the hats and the spurs, so I guess everyone has a little cowboy in them for sure. And there's some darn good hands and good horsemen too right here. Some of the best in the world. We're fortunate to have them here, and we're just so glad you guys came in today and told us a little bit about what y'all do for a living. It's been very, very eye-opening to me.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
I did too, Jimbo. There's not that much stuff in the Western way of life that is as big a mystery to me as the cutting horse industry has been. You seem like you know a little bit about it, but come to find out, I didn't know hardly anything about it.
Right.
I know a little more now.
Sure.
Very
Me
little.
too.
I'm dumb.
No.
Well, Tommy, good luck, and we're wishing y'all. I hope you win another futurity this year.
Oh man, me too.
Let's bring another one home right here.
All right.
We'll have you a parade when you get home over there at Barnsdall.
That was one thing. When we come back from the futurity, there was a lot of excited people.
How many messages did you have on the phone?
It was endless for days, just one after another, and all the past futurity champions and everybody that's ever rode a cutting horse texted me, called me. It
Had to
was-
be a great feeling that
oh,
day.
wow. Yeah. It was unreal. It was
You,
like-
you need another day like that, Tommy.
That's right.
He's due. He's
That's
due.
right.
2015, 2021.
I think it's time.
It's time.
Yep.
Times. It's been, I can't believe that's been a few years, Tommy.
Yes, sir.
Holy moly. Mm-hmm. 2005 don't seem like that long ago.
Yep. Don't throw your hat on the bed this time.
Okay.
Keep that hat off the bed. And get the money, guys, and good luck.
Okay.
We're
thank
all
you.
rooting for you right here.
Well, we appreciate it.
All
I
right.
appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you.
Well, we'll see everybody next week right here on the Cowboys of the Osage podcast. Until then, it's been old Cody and Jimbo here. We'll see you later.
Later.